Okay, Brett, so we've been working around a lot with cognitions, and we have to remember that thoughts and images are a category that kind of come together. And working with images can be really potent and really powerful, kind of that idea that image is worth 1,000 words. For some people, that's really important. So we've got this image that we've identified together where you were going to ask Jim, I think it was, to go out to a ball game or a movie or something like that. It was John. Okay, thank you. And you had this image of him just kind of laughing in your face.
Yeah.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so John laughing. Let's just kind of thicken that up a bit in terms of the narrative of it so we can really get a clear understanding. So when you think about that, what would you be hearing with your sense of your sense of hearing?
So I'm hearing him laugh, you know.
How would that
I know it's
sound?
delusional, but then you kind of picture everybody else like kind of chuckling.
Oh, so everyone else is chuckling too.
Yeah, you know, behind them. And
Right. And can you describe how that laughter or chuckling would sound?
yeah, it's, you know, just little John, you know, just like.
Oh, okay.
You know,
So kind of a low scoffing.
yeah, scoffing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, more of a scoffing.
Okay. And can you imagine that in that image, anything that you could be feeling with your sense of touch?
Feeling my hands, I guess, and how probably sweaty and
You get kind of sweaty.
hot.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
tension. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So this kind of scoffing laughter that you're hearing, the feel of kind of your sweaty palms or tension in your body that you would feel. Anything that you might smell, do you think?
Just the smells that, you know, at work. You
At
know,
work,
just
yeah.
like, you know, the printer
Printer
and
ink.
all that kind
Okay.
of stuff. Yeah.
Should I just write work smells?
Yeah, work
Okay.
smells.
Okay. Anything that you might taste?
I don't know. Lots of probably saliva. I don't
Yeah,
know. You know,
yeah.
like for anxiety. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Sometimes people anxiety turns into kind of acid reflux or kind of a sour taste or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could work.
All right. Okay. So our hearing, our touch, our sense of smell and taste, and anything else that we'd be missing in this image to round it out a little bit?
I don't think so. That's a pretty
Yeah.
powerful
Yeah.
image.
How does it make you feel just thinking about this scoffing and all this stuff going on?
Makes you feel terrible.
Yeah.
Makes me not want to
Right.
do it.
Yeah, okay. Well, and that's the tricky thing with images. You've just experienced it now, how potent they are. But we can do a lot with images. So let's work through several of them now. And we won't do all the details for every single one, but let's try these different things on and see how they make you feel on the other side of them, okay? So with this particular image, can you imagine it happening, but in kind of a less threatening way? Less severe.
So maybe the image might be, you know, ask and he doesn't laugh, but has a little smirk.
Okay, right. So it doesn't do that low
Yeah.
scoffing, but kind of smirks.
Smirk.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not as threatening.
not as threatening. Okay. How about if we follow this image through right to the end? So often we kind of stop these images at their worst point in our brains. What happens if you push play on it and it follows itself right through to the end? What happens there?
So basically I just retreat
Okay.
in defeat,
In defeat.
and that's kind of it.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, when I say that, this sounds ridiculous, you know.
Okay.
I don't think people are gonna scoff and
Right.
laugh. I know that, you know,
Okay.
it's a feeling.
Right.
you
So
know.
what you've done there is something called reality testing the image. You just kind of looked at how true is this image actually, and what might actually happen here. Okay, so that's another technique. You did it all by yourself. too. Okay. What about if you don't push play but just like skip this chapter and you jump ahead to another time? What might be going on then when the stressful event's over and it's kind of been overcome?
Maybe we're at the baseball game.
Oh. What's that like for you to think about that?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels good.
Okay.
You know, just picturing sitting in the stands, you know, and watching,
Mm-hmm.
you know, eating the hot dog.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know that's
Different tastes and smells.
yeah,
there.
different tastes and smells.
Yeah.
It's that's a good image.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So that one was kind of helpful for you to think about just jumping ahead in time.
Yeah, and that motivates me when I think about that
Okay.
image. Yeah.
Okay, good. So again, we're just kind of doing rapid fire on some of these,
Yeah.
but this is all kind of important stuff, and that one really worked for you.
Yeah.
How about if you imagine kind of going back to the image that was original, where he's kind of chuckling, but you cope with it? So you
Okay.
kind of make your way through. What would that image look like?
Coping with it, I guess for me would be, I guess just recognizing that that's a rude thing to do to anybody, and
Right.
that really wouldn't be about me.
Okay.
That would be more about him. So I guess just for me it would be picturing myself, you know, accepting that, you know, being,
Yeah.
you know, sad for him, but also not wanting to waste my
Right.
time anymore on
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would think.
Yeah. So that coping really was about kind of thinking about it differently.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking about what it meant for him and you, and
Interpreting it different. Yeah.
interpreting
yeah.
it differently.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about this one? How about you have the same image, but you have the power to change the ending or change how it goes? You know, this is your imagination. What would you do?
Yeah, so I think we forget, I mean, so does that mean he's still laughing, or?
It's your image.
Okay, so I've changed that ending to there's no laughing or anything like that. There's just a grateful acceptance,
Yeah.
and then, you know, go to the game and have a good time, and, you know, lots of laughing at the game,
Yeah.
maybe in a good way.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
that to me could be
Yeah.
changing the ending. I guess. Yeah.
Interesting. We're ending up at the ball game again with your friend. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't necessarily want to do this one, but there's a way that you could sort of sit with an image and think about it over and over until it loses its kind of emotional power. It's a little bit like exposure, where you would just sit and kind of imagine him laughing at you kind of a lot of times until you didn't care about it too much anymore.
Okay.
Can you imagine how that might work for you?
Yeah, because, you know, the first time I wrote this, when you wrote it down,
Yeah.
you know, I was anxious. After I read it 3 or 4 times, I
Yeah.
you know, I kind of said that, well, it sounds ridiculous. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
reality testing?
Well, it's kind of like
Is that-
reality testing. It's kind of like we talked about exposure, where we
Yeah.
sort of sit with that same image till it loses its emotional charge for us.
Okay.
We habituate to it. And that one will just take time. You just have to kind of sit with it and think about it.
Okay.
Write it out. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. Then there's this one here where, you know, again, this is your imagination and your images. One where you could just change the channel entirely. You know, you find yourself thinking about this and you go, well, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to think about, you know, meeting a movie star or climbing a mountain or something else. What would you do? What would you do to change the channel, do you think?
Maybe I would just, maybe I'd picture just being on vacation.
Yeah,
You know,
good
in
idea.
a cottage, you know, on the beach.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know,
Nice.
I got a vacation coming up in a month or so.
Perfect.
Maybe just start thinking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you do that, thinking about vacation, how do you feel then?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't there, right? So I
Okay.
feel more relaxed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And just a couple more. How about if you could imagine you're almost watching this image from the outside, kind of giving yourself a little distance from it. How might that change it for you? Kind of realize your problems are limited, or
Like, just pretend I'm watching myself.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think that would be like?
That's interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know. Feels like I'm a little bit distanced from
Yeah.
it. You know.
Kind of the idea.
Yeah, like maybe this is just one situation.
Right.
There'll be more.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's it. And that kind of leads to the last one, where you imagine this is sort of not an entire movie, but a scene in a movie, right? Where, you know, movies need ups and downs and some tension in them to make them interesting. Or there's kind of the thought that sometimes in these images, we get through Act 1, which is the introduction, Act 2, where we introduce the problem, but we forget to get into Act 3, whereas that's sort of the triumphant ending.
Oh, so would be, if this happened, it would be like Act 2.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then what would come after, do you think?
I'm thinking of a movie or a story, you know, he would get his due. Not me though, like
No,
not me, you
yeah.
know, but it's just in a humorous way or something.
Sure.
And then, yeah, I would just meet other friends,
Sure.
and then we'd go, you know,
Yeah.
after I had, you know, learned what I needed to learn.
Yeah,
from this.
great.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Okay. Yeah. So we've worked through a whole lot of different techniques with images. What are you coming away with?
Imagery is powerful.
Yeah. And how do you feel differently now?
I feel like I have more control.
Great.
You know, like there's a lot of things I can do with that image.
Yeah.
Imagery.
Excellent.